What's up guys, Eric Vasquez here from teachmetodesign.com, and in today's video I'm going to show you how to create a cool glitch effect on your text in Adobe Illustrator. Alright guys, so today we're going to be creating a text glitch effect in Adobe Illustrator. And here I've just set up a new canvas that's about 1920 by 1080, and I'm just going to double click on my fill color here and select a dark blue. So I'm thinking something around here, looks pretty good. Then I'll just press M on the keyboard and click and drag to create a rectangle that fills out the whole background. Now I want to get rid of the stroke here, so I'm going to press X to toggle between my fill and stroke and then choose none. Now what I want to do from here is double click on the layer and call it BG, and then I'm just going to tap it down to make sure that it fills in the entire canvas, and then we can go ahead and lock that layer. Next, create a new layer, press T on the keyboard to get your type tool, and I'm just going to type out the letters OMG. Oh my god. Alright, and then we're just going to zoom in here, make this text a little bit larger by scaling it up from the center. To do that, we're holding down the Alt, Option, and Shift keys and just dragging outwards from any of the four corners. And let's just make this a solid white fill, again with no stroke. Now for the font, I'm just going to keep it simple. I'm going to go with Gotham, because Gotham is awesome. And I'm just going to scale it down a little bit so it fits into the space. Alright, so from here I want to create a copy of this that is going to be our backup. So it's basically going to be a live copy of the text that we can come back to just in case we mess things up. So I'm going to press Command C to copy it, create a new layer, and then I'm going to make sure I'm on layer 3 and press Command and F to paste in front. Okay, double click the layer and just call it live type. Go ahead and lock it and poke out the eyeball, and then bring up layer 2. So we have this, and this we'll just call OL for outlines. So as you might have guessed, from here we have to create outlines for our text. So I'm going to select the text and then either come up to the type menu and choose Create Outlines, or notice the keyboard shortcut Command-Shift-O. Alright, now once you do that, you've basically converted your text into a shape, so it can no longer be edited with the text tool. But one other thing we want to do here is make sure that we ungroup these letters. So to do that, I'm going to select the text and then come up here to Object and choose Ungroup. And now I can select each of these letters individually and move them around. We're in good shape so far. The next thing I'm going to do is select all of my letters, press Command C and Command F to copy and paste in front, and then hold down the Shift key and tap it to the left maybe 3 times. Come over here and double click on the fill color, and then we're going to change it to maybe this kind of bright yellowish green. And now what we want to do is send it back behind our white text. So to do that, you can either come up to the Object menu and choose Arrange Send Backward, and you'll notice the keyboard shortcut for that as well, which is Command and the left bracket. So go ahead and do that until all of your green shapes are behind the white letters. So you should have something like this. Okay, so now what I can do is select both of these letters together, both of the O's, hold down the Shift key and just tap it to the left maybe 3 times, and we'll do the same thing on the G going the opposite way. So select both letters, hold down the Shift key, and tap it to the right maybe 3 times, just to give it a little bit of breathing room here. And now let's go ahead and select each of our green letters while holding the Shift key, press Command C to copy it, and then Command F to paste in front, and then double click on it once again. Now this time let's go ahead and change the color maybe to this light blue color. Alright, and we'll send it the opposite way. So hold down the Shift key and tap it to the right maybe another 3 or 4 times. Alright, so from here what I want to do is kind of figure out, okay, well my green shapes are going to be all on the left side here, and my blue shapes are going to be on the right, but I don't want them to overlap. So for example, let's take the M here. You can see we have all these copies now, the green, the white, the blue, but I don't necessarily want that. I only want the blue to show up in certain areas. So what I'm going to do first is select the blue shapes and make sure that they are all the way in the back, even behind the green, like that. And now what I can do is select my background color, grab my pen tool, and I'm just going to cover up the areas that I don't want to see from the blue. Alright, and then I'm going to select that shape, hold down Shift and select the blue shape in the background, and then I'll just bring up my Pathfinder, or you can come over to it here on the right side of the interface. You'll see the panel for Pathfinder. Let's bring it up, and then you want to choose minus front. Now what that did is just subtracted that shape from the blue shape. So now when we send it backwards, behind the green, you'll no longer see that piece sticking out here. Okay, so I want to do the same thing basically for a few of these other shapes here. So maybe this part of the green. So let's do the same thing. I'm going to select my background color and just draw a shape here over the green. Make sure it's selected, hold down the Shift key and select the green shape, and then choose minus front from the Pathfinder, and then we'll send it back again. Alright, so you have something like this. Now I want to do the same thing on the letter G here by covering up this green shape. Okay, so I'm just going to go ahead, create another shape, sample the background color, hold down Shift and select that green, and then choose minus front. Send it backwards again by pressing Command and the left bracket. And we can do that one more time just by covering up this part of the green shape here on the lower part of the G. And once again, minus front, send it back. Okay, and I think for the O, we're in pretty good shape. Maybe we can get rid of either the blue or the green. I'm not sure which one I want to get rid of here. Let's go ahead and get rid of the blue on the inside of this shape. Alright, so all I'm going to do here, create a shape that covers it, sample the background color. Okay, then select the blue. I was saying I'm going to get rid of the blue. I want to get my Pathfinder back. Where did you go? Window Pathfinder, minus front, and then we can send that backwards. Okay, so at this point we've got our white, green, and blue text, and we've cleaned it up a bit using our Pathfinder. So from here we can actually start to add some of our glitch shapes. So the first thing I want to do is select these shapes all together, tap them over a few more times because now we're adding some width to these, so we need to space them out a little bit more. And what I'm going to do is press M on the keyboard to get my square or my rectangle tool, and just hold down the Shift key and draw out a square. Now from here I'm going to sample some of this green color, and I'm just going to tap the square over so it's a little bit closer, and then I'm going to make a copy of it. So I'm just going to hold down the Alt, Option, and Shift keys and drag this shape down. From here I'm going to grab my Direct Selection tool, which you can either select up here, it's the white arrow, or you can just press A on the keyboard. I'm going to click while holding the Shift key to select both of these points. Alright, and then I'm just going to hold down Shift and tap it over a little bit to extend the shape. I want to create another copy of that, so again, hold down Alt, Option, and Shift and drag it over. And this time, let's maybe have it come out the opposite way, up top. Alright, and we can sample some of our blue color for this. Alright, and make sure to send it behind the white text. There you go. Alright, and then maybe let's put a square here in the middle, or even down here on the bottom and make it blue. Okay, something like that. Maybe we can move this up a bit. Grab that point there with the Direct Selection tool by pressing A, clicking on the point, and then just tapping it over. So you end up with something like this. Alright, but one other thing that we want to do here is actually create some shapes that cut into our letter. So to do that, I'm going to grab this rectangle once again, drag a copy down, and this time let's sample the background color by pressing I to get the eyedropper tool, and then clicking on this blue. Now from here what I can do is just extend the shape, and we can decide where we want it to kind of cut in. And if I zoom out, you can see that because it's the same color as the background, it just looks like we're kind of taking a chunk out of the O. Alright, so you can put it here in the middle, but then it kind of looks like a C, so I don't know if I want to do that. Maybe I'll put it somewhere over here. Alright, and just play around with it for a minute to try and find like some interesting position. Alright, maybe move that around, something like that. Alright, and it doesn't have to be the exact same length either. Alright, so I'm going to go with something like this. Okay, now we want to select all of these shapes together, and we're going to bring up our Pathfinder once again, and we're going to choose Merge. Okay, so once you've done that, you can click on both of these blue shapes while holding the Shift key and delete them. Now I can select all these shapes together and press Command G to group them, and then let's move on to the letter M. So for this we want to do the same thing, but I'm going to use an existing square that we've already created. So I'm going to select this square, hold down Alt, Option, and Shift, and just drag it over. And now I'm going to do the same thing on the letter M, where I kind of create a few of these shapes that are sticking out. So the first thing I want to do is separate this and just put it here on the bottom. Now if I try to select it with my regular selection tool, it's selecting all of this other stuff because I grouped it. So let's come up to Object and ungroup it, and then press Command-Shift-A to deselect everything. And now I can select this shape by itself. Alright, I'm going to zoom in a little bit here to make sure that I line this up nicely. And let's just try to get this shape looking good. Alright, and make sure that the white letter is on top. We can move it up. Alright, and maybe make it a little off-centered here. Create another copy. Alright, and maybe let's make this one a square. Right, something like that. Drag a copy over here. And then let's change this one to blue. Tap it up just a little bit. Alright, we're looking pretty good so far. Okay, and remember, we're going to be adding some of these blue lines in here too, so you can do that either as you go or at the end and just bring it to the front. So instead of using the Object menu to go Object, Arrange, Bring to Front, you can press Command, Shift, and the right bracket. Alright, and from there you can just kind of cut into this letter wherever you want, as long as it looks cool and, you know, interesting, just to break up the shape a bit. Right, maybe not quite that much. Bring it down here. Right, and it's kind of a cool looking effect once you get all these shapes in here. It just takes a little bit of time to build it out. Alright, so again, I'm going to add some shapes here on the bottom. Right, like that. Maybe move this one up a bit. Or I can just move it up top. That might look a little bit better anyway. Okay, create a square. And then once you're happy with it, go ahead and select the entire shape. Make sure you've got all the pieces there. And then we're going to choose Merge once again. And now I'll use my direct selection tool by pressing A, hold down the Shift key, and select each of these blue bars that cut into the shape, and just delete them. Alright. So you can see we're making some progress here. Let's go ahead and do the same thing on the letter G to finish this up. Alright, I'm going to ungroup this and use the same square as a base for this last letter. Okay. And at this point you guys can kind of see the pattern here as I'm just creating these shapes and moving them around and basically, you know, changing the colors, right? And then we're kind of merging it, cutting into it, and going about it that way. All right, so it shouldn't take you guys too long to get this set up. And of course, you know, remember to zoom in to try and line things up as best as you can. It's always better to take a few extra minutes to try and be precise for this kind of stuff. Let's see. Ugh, this one's going to be really annoying. Alright, there you go. Let's add a few more shapes in here before we merge this together. All right, I'm going to sample some of the background color here, bring it to the front, which is again Command Shift in the right bracket. And then let's see where else we want to cut into this shape. All right, something like that looks pretty good. And we can move this square up top. I didn't mind it down here. All right, and then I'm going to select this whole shape here, merge it once again, grab my direct selection tool, select each of these blue bars, and just delete them. So at this point, we've got all of our letters here, and we've got all of these shapes kind of coming off of them. One other thing we can do to kind of make this even better is to offset some of these letters. And to do that, we're going to use the Pathfinder once again. So I'm going to select each of these letters individually, all the pieces that we need here, for the M, the O, and the G. All right, the O, the M, the G. Okay, and then we are going to select them and zoom in. So from here, what I'm going to do is press P to get my pen tool, Shift and X to convert it from a fill to a stroke color, and I'm just going to create a line. So I'm going to click somewhere over here, hold down the Shift key and click once again, and then I can press V to get my selection tool and just zoom in a little bit more. So at this point, I'm going to hold the Shift key and just drag this line down so it kind of lines up with the top of this and cuts all the way through the letter O. Now what I'm going to do is hold down the Shift key while my line is still selected and select this shape in the background. Now let's go to our Pathfinder once again, and I'm just going to dock it over here so that I can come back to it. And this time, instead of choosing Merge or minus front, we're going to use this option called Divide. Alright, so once you click on that, you'll see that it basically created a slice through our shape. And if I select it now, I can come up to Object, ungroup it, and I can select all of these top shapes here. Right, and I can hold down the Shift key and I can tap it either to the right or to the left, whichever way you want. And that's going to kind of push our effect a little bit further to create that kind of offset look. Alright, so now I'm going to select the whole letter by clicking and dragging around it and just tapping it over a couple of times. Alright, and let's move this too. Alright, so you should have something like that. Now we can do the same thing for the other letters as well. So I'm going to press D to get my default colors, Shift and X to swap the fill and the stroke, and then choose None for the fill, so that all I'm left with is a solid white stroke. Alright, I'm going to click to create a point, hold down the Shift key and click over here to make another point, and then press V to get my selection tool. And now I'm just going to tap it down a couple times again and try to decide where I want to split this letter. Alright, I don't want it to split in the exact same spot as the O, but maybe somewhere a little bit lower. So we can go around here. But before I cut this, I actually want to make sure that these shapes line up. So I'm just going to zoom in here, click and drag around those few points with my direct selection tool, and just tap them up a bit. Alright, now I can select this whole letter, alright, plus my line here, and then once again choose Divide from the Pathfinder. Alright, now I'm going to select all of these shapes together, ungroup them, just grab the ones on the bottom, and we can offset them to the left. Alright, so that creates a pretty cool looking effect. Alright, let's just move this square over a little bit. And lastly, let's go ahead and do the same thing with the letter G. Okay, so where do we want to split this one? Maybe through here. And let's just zoom in so we can try to line this up. Okay, and it looks like our blue shape here on the end isn't quite matching up. So I'm just going to click, hold down the Shift key and drag this down a bit, click on this point and cut it, and then I'll press P to get my pen tool, click here, and close the shape. Alright, now it looks like our shape isn't exactly lined up the way that we want it to be, so let's just go ahead and fix this real quick. I'm just going to draw in here, close the shape. There you go. Alright, now I'm just going to hold down Shift and bring the line back up so that it lines up nicely. Click and drag around all of our letter G, including the line, and choose Divide. Ungroup it. And then let's select all of our top shapes here above the line, and maybe just tap it to the right a couple of times. Alright, so you have something like this. Alright. And now you can add any more, additional shapes that you want. You can modify the existing ones, but this is pretty much the effect that we're going for here. So now I can select all of these together, and if you want to change the color of any of these, all you have to do is press A to grab your direct selection tool, click on the color you want to change, such as this blue, come up to the Select menu and choose Same, Fill, and Stroke. Now that's going to select everything that is blue in your document. Now from there you can double click on the fill color and just change it to say, an orange or magenta, pretty much whatever you want. Another way you could do that is by using the magic wand tool or by pressing Y on the keyboard. And as soon as you click on anything that has this orange fill color or the color you want to change, it's going to select everything else in the document that shares that same fill color. So that's a little bit easier, saves you maybe a couple of seconds, but just another way that you can get in there and change the colors quickly and easily. So that's basically the effect that I wanted to show you guys for creating this vector glitch effect. It's totally scalable since we're working in Illustrator, which is a nice benefit of this. And yeah, it can be used for a lot of cool type treatments, and it can be used for logos and things like that. And if you guys wanted to push it a little bit further, you can always come in here and modify some of these shapes, because since everything is merged, you can tweak it a little bit now and not have to worry about messing up some of the other parts. So if you wanted to make it a little bit more random, just use your direct selection tool to come in here, grab some of these points, and just move some things around. All right, so you don't have to be too worried about messing things up. Don't be precious about it. You might even want to get rid of a few of these shapes. But that's the effect, guys. I hope that you enjoyed this tutorial. Hopefully you learned something new along the way. If so, please give us a thumbs up, comment, and subscribe to the YouTube channel. And be sure to sign up for the email list, guys, and be the first to know anytime some new content drops. And if you are interested in learning more about branding and stepping up your logo game, be sure to check out our all-new Brand You Design course with our all-new pricing. Head on over to teachmetodesign.com/brandyou for more. Thanks for watching, guys, and we'll see you next time.